What's up, guys? Welcome to the theScore eSports podcast. I am your host. Believe it or not, I'm back after a few-week absence. Colin McNeil in the booth with me behind the boards. Josh Burry.
I'm still here.
Always. We got Daniel Rosen to my left.
I have never left.
Wow.
I've been in this room the whole time.
That's sad. I do apologize for not being here for the last couple of shows, guys. It's been a crazy busy time, exciting time here at theScore eSports, and it's all the more exciting because of the guest we have today. We've got Erik Lonnquist. You know him better as DoA. He is one of the premier voices, first of Overwatch, secondly, of course, historically, League of Legends. Super excited. StarCraft. Let's go back even further. Let's do that.
StarCraft. And Hearthstone.
And here he is. There's the voice.
Hello.
Magically there.
Welcome, DoA.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really good. Before we started recording, you were showing us some Warhammer figures, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You've got your MST3K shirt ready for Turkey Day?
Yeah, well, actually, they did Turkey Day on Sunday. They did a little bit early this year because they're releasing the new season on actual Thanksgiving. So, yeah, Turkey Day has come and gone, but it will always be on Thanksgiving in our hearts.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's crazy. That's one nerd thing I never got into.
Wow, really?
Mystery
I would have
science
thought that
thing.
as a man who loves...
I love movies.
Yeah,
right?
you love movies.
I used to
as much
write
as you
about
do.
movies. Yeah.
Sad.
I should check it out.
The new season's quite good. The previous new season.
Best TV show ever made, hands down.
Holy shit. Okay, well, I'll definitely be checking it out. You know what is also a great season, Daniel Rosen?
Yes.
Which is the Overwatch League's inaugural season. DoA,
We're actually on TV now, so I suppose I should say that's the best TV show ever made.
That's true. The Overwatch
I don't know
League
if we're there yet, though.
that's a perfect segue because I actually wanted to know. I wanted to get a really quick retrospective from you after season 1 of OWL. Like, how's it looking? How do you feel about it? How do you think it went?
I think, well, for myself and I think everybody I know, I think we're all really, really happy with how season 1 went. I mean, the viewership far exceeded our expectations. I think the production was great. On my end, from the caster perspective, it all ran very, very smoothly. Barely any technical issues. Everyone was very easy to work with. The fans at the arena seemed to like it. The fans at home seemed to like it. So yeah, I think from our perspective, everything went really, really well. I'm really happy with it.
Well, that's really good to hear. I know I can't speak for everyone who's interested in esports, but I know here at the office we had our eyes on the OWL, and we were all kind of hoping it was a success just for esports in general, honestly. And speaking of that, you know, I want to ask you as well about your thoughts on the future of the league, because we've already seen a huge expansion move. I haven't heard a lot about the geolocation thing. I feel like we might be a little ways off on that, although you can correct me if that's wrong. What's your pulse take on the coming seasons, not just next year, but maybe the next 2 or 3 years of OWL?
Well, I mean, hopefully bigger and better, right? I mean, certainly bigger. We've got 8 new teams in the league, so that's going to be a lot more to watch, a lot more to kind of keep track of in a good way. China has a chance to win some games in the league now because they've got 4 teams, so one of them's got to win, right? So I think we've got that to look forward to if you're a fan of Chinese esports in particular. But I think, looking forward with the regionalization thing, we know it's going to happen. Just how exactly it's going to happen remains to be seen. It's going to be pretty fun and exciting when it does. I'll leave it at that. But for now, I think we can just kind of expect, more teams in the league next year have already been announced. A lot more great players. A lot of players that probably should have had a chance last year to be involved are getting that chance now this year because of all those expansion teams. So yeah, pretty exciting time to be alive.
Absolutely. I'm really something that I'm interested in. Obviously, like you said, we've got 8 new teams that are kind of buying into this franchise system, which I think was kind of in a very big deal way the first system to try to bring, or at least bring back in a very long time, franchised leagues or at least permanent partnership leagues to esports. And I'm wondering how you feel that's sort of shaken out for these guys. Has it, like, obviously it's hard to say because Overwatch's competitive scene is, obviously it went away for a while before the Overwatch League, but do you feel like it's something that's been, good for the ecosystem as a whole?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's one of those things that's going to take more time to really, judge. Obviously, we're only 1 year in, but I think initially it's looking pretty good. I think it's brought a lot of stability to the players that are involved in the league, in that, now these guys are earning a livable wage. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we want this industry to be a place where everybody from the top to bottom can make a livable wage doing this thing, whether it's players, casters, people working in the production, statisticians. I mean, we want everybody to be able to make esports their job, right? Because that's when we know we've really created a new industry. We're not just having a bunch of, one-off tournaments and things like that. So and again, I'm not like the greatest business mind in esports at all, but from my perspective, it seems like it's brought that, stability, at least to the Overwatch League, that people were kind of hoping to see. So hopefully that continues.
I want to ask you about fandom, sort of how people get attached to esports, specifically the Overwatch League, because I feel like traditionally in a lot of esports, fans get attached to individuals. They get attached to players. That's changing a bit. Definitely, I think the orgs are making some headway in terms of brand recognition and staying power. But in the Overwatch League, and again, it only has been one season, I don't know if there has emerged that kind of individual standout play where people get really into one iconic player or a couple iconic players. So I guess what I'm getting at here is when and how can the faker of Overwatch emerge?
I guess I'd kind of have to disagree with you a little bit there, actually, because if you look at the first season of Overwatch League, we had Jonak, we had Carpe, we had Pine, we did have these like superstar breakout players, and Faker's on a different level than all those guys, obviously, and it's going to take a few years before we really see if somebody like that emerges. Somebody will at some point, but whether that's one of these guys remains to be seen. But I think we are seeing those players that people can kind of latch onto, but. The nice thing with the Overwatch League is that you don't necessarily need those players in the same way that you needed them in other esports before the regionalization happened. It's easy to say, hey, I'm from this city or I'm from this region. I'm going to cheer for this team because it's my home team. It's a lot more easy to do that than say, I'm just going to follow this one player no matter what team he goes on. That feels uncomfortable to be cheering for one team one season, one team another season, because this player is going from place to place, and you can become a fan of an org like we saw, in the past too. But I mean, just look at the fan meetups and the like the bar crafts. I still call it bar craft, I guess, but like the bar meetups to watch Overwatch League and stuff like that. They're always packed, wherever they are, and so I think the regionalization is a huge step in terms of engaging a much bigger fan base in a way that hasn't really been done yet. In esports, and those star players are going to come out, but we don't necessarily need that superstar faker player right away to keep people interested in the league like we did before in some other games.
Fair enough. Actually, you mentioned Jonak. I wanted to really quickly get your take on him. As a player, I often hear him described as, again, sort of not the faker. He's a team player. He very much embodies what Overwatch is, or what the Overwatch League is. Do you think that he is sort of I don't know if I want to say a poster boy, but a good archetype for the breakout Overwatch star player?
I don't know actually. I think Arc might be a better poster boy for that kind of thing. He's the one damage boosting Jonak the entire time. I mean, Jonak is kind of like the anti-support where, he throws healing orbs on people every once in a while, but he's mostly out there to frag out, right, and kill people. So I don't know if I could actually use that comparison for him specifically. I'm trying to think of somebody else that would maybe fit that. I think a player maybe like Gamsu is a good example of somebody who's is really good at taking their role and kind of really leading a team through it. Fissure, you could say that as well, although Fissure is a bit more individualistic in that kind of sense too. Maybe if you look at Jaehong, I think that would be a good example of a player that's very, very skilled individually, but also a really intensely team player with his Ana plays and things like that. So I don't know if Jonak quite applies to that label, but there are certainly players in the league that do.
Do you think that maybe the way I think we have seen this, that Overwatch is a game, and people talk about this all the time. It is a game where the team play is more important than I think it is in a lot of other games. Obviously, plenty of team games have like playing as a team is really important, but in Overwatch, like you've got to be working like this clockwork machine to make things happen in a team fight. And I'm wondering, like, do you feel like because of that, it's a little bit more difficult to identify those stars, and instead you look to the guys who are like team leaders, like Gamsu, guys who do like just sit and listen, like my job is to heal boost you and we're going to make that happen? Like, do you think that maybe that kind of archetype of the superstar that we're used to seeing in other games is just a little harder to find in Overwatch because of the game itself?
I don't think so. Not really. I think team play is a big part of nearly any sport. I mean, if you go outside of video games, you look at basketball, you look at football, and all that. You're going to have intense team play, intense cohesive group strategy, but there are a lot of individual stars, right? You've got your LeBron James, you've got your Aaron Rodgers, right? In esports, you've got that Jonak where he's playing as part of a team, and in his role on the team, he needs to be in the place that the team needs him to be. But from that place, he's able to do more just because he's that much better. So I think Overwatch definitely has those players. The big challenge in Overwatch is spectating the game in a way to help that come through easier for the viewer to see.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to quickly ask you a question about a gentleman who unfortunately passed away about a year ago now, Internet Hulk. We're doing a retrospective video piece on him here at theScore eSports. A lot of our content is pointed historically to documentaries like that. And I wanted to inquire if you had any interactions with him, and to your mind, sort of what kind of person he was like.
Yeah, I mean, I knew him really well. He was a great friend of mine and a fantastic guy. And we definitely miss him. You think about him pretty much every day. He and I got to know each other in Korea when Envious came over to play in Apex Season 1. They were actually the first team to get to Korea. So Monte and I met up with them the night they got here in the hotel, took them out for a Korean barbecue, hung out with them a lot. He and I actually shared a birthday, March 22nd. So we had a co-birthday party in Korea the year that they were there. And obviously hung out with him a lot when he came to LA as well. So so I was blessed enough to get to know Dennis really, really well, and get to spend a lot of time with him. And I talked to him before he came out to Apex, and he actually contacted me before they came to Apex, and did we lose somebody? Oh.
Audio. There we go. But you're back.
I'm back. Okay, I'm back. Good. Anyway, what was I saying? So
you were saying that he was the one who contacted you.
Yeah, that's right. Because he had watched Korean esports for years, going back to StarCraft, and so he was so excited to get to come to Korea and play, on the stage at OGN and all that kind of stuff. And he said, I'm gonna come and win it. And of course, from my perspective, I've had a lot of non-Koreans say they're going to come to Korea and win a Korean tournament. So I was like, all right, buddy, that sounds good. Yeah, good luck with that, man. And then he did it. He actually came and did it. And that was just an incredible story. Him coming and leading that team to be like the first non-Korean team to ever win like a big Korean esports tournament like that. That was just like a feat that is pretty much unmatched in Korean esports. And he was a leader there, and he did a great job of it. So. Yeah, Dennis was a great guy. I always make sure to go and wave at the shrine in Eichenwald to say hi to him whenever I play on that map. And we definitely miss him.
Absolutely. There's obviously Blizzard has an award in his honor, an annual award. But beyond that sort of static entity, could you comment a little bit on what you think his legacy, specifically in the world of Overwatch, is?
I think. In my opinion, Dennis's biggest legacy was someone who could recognize talent in a place where not everyone else could see it. I think Mickey, who won the Dennis Welko Award, first year, is the best example of that. He's the one you obviously choose when you kind of talk about this, because he was this player from Thailand, right? And he was good, but Dennis is like, we can take this guy. And he's going to fit in so great to our team, and we can mold him, and make him this star player. And they did that and went on to win, a lot of tournaments. With Mickey. So I think that's kind of his big contribution, in my opinion, is being able to recognize raw talent and be this like really kind, friendly, welcoming leader that kind of helped them fit into that team and excel.
So DoA, you alluded to your feelings about franchising a little earlier, but I did want to ask you about the concept in general, because obviously the Overwatch League is not the only franchised esports league out there. There was the LPL, but more recently, and perhaps a little more obvious to our personal audience, this year we had the NALCS go full franchising, and just today, as we're recording, we finally got the confirmation that what was formerly known as the EULCS will be going the same route. Are you at all surprised that Riot is rolling out these league franchising models?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, it seems like it's the way to go right now to kind of upgrade sort of again the stability of the league in general. I think it makes esports tournaments a lot more appealing to sponsors both on the league level and the team level. And again, you want commitment from people, right? And when you get the teams involved in the league to that degree, that brings I think a level of commitment to making sure the league goes well and sticks around for a long time that maybe didn't exist to that degree in the past. So doesn't surprise me at all that they would kind of jump on that bandwagon, I guess. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's good on them to do that.
I'm just kind of personally curious as to obviously, like as we've talked about plenty of times now, your focus is Overwatch and casting Overwatch. I'm wondering how close attention you pay to League now that it's not your job, as it were.
Yeah, not as much as I used to. League of Legends for me was always a game that I really loved watching, and I loved the stories that emerged with the players and the teams in Korea over time, watching that kind of history sort of build itself. And just watching the game, it's a really fun game to watch strategically. There's all sorts of time to analyze things and to make jokes and to kind of do a Monte DoA podcast once in a while. But then you've got these great moments of intense action with incredible teamwork and mechanical skill. It's just a fantastic game to watch. I was never a big fan of playing it myself, so I kind of stopped doing that even before I stopped casting it. But after I stopped casting it, I definitely don't watch it as much as I used to, obviously, but I do go back and watch a little bit here and there. I always watch a little bit of Worlds each year. I was really psyched to see Ambition get his championship last year. And obviously this year was totally crazy with the Korean teams not even making it to the semifinals. Like I knew eventually a Korean team wouldn't win the finals, but I didn't think we'd suddenly go to like where nobody even made the semis. It was a weird year for Korean League of Legends. But as a long answer to your short question, I still watch a bit, but definitely nowhere near as much as I used to. I have no idea like what the meta is, and there's champions in the game now where I'm like, I have no idea what this guy does.
Long answers to short questions are my personal favorite as a journalist.
That's my specialty. There you go.
Oh, excellent. You just hit on something, DoA, that I wanted to ask you a little bit later on, but I might as well jump to it. You mentioned sort of the Monte DoA podcast kind of thing. I wanted to ask about the origins of that style of casting. It almost reminds me personally, as an old person, of like StarCraft casting, where in that game there is, or at least there was before Legacy, a lot of downtime built into it, where there's play-by-play is not really a relevant thing. So you have to fill that airspace, and I think like people like Artosis and Tasteless, did a wonderful job with that. And you and Monte were really good at that in LCK when the meta was such that you also had some space to fill that play-by-play wasn't necessarily the most relevant thing. Did that style for you to come up organically? Was it something you sort of prefabricated? Where did that come from?
I think mostly it's just kind of based on our personalities. We like to have these discussions, and when you have that downtime, that's kind of what comes out. We just kind of are ourselves, on the cast with that. But I came from a background of casting StarCraft 2. Monte had casted Warcraft 3 way back when. That's where he got his start in casting. And we did actually cast StarCraft 2 together at the same time as we began our League of Legends career, casting, League together. Obviously, he started his League career a little bit earlier than mine, but I think it definitely did come from the RTS sort of style of casting, and obviously Tastosis were a huge influence on that scene and on a lot of casters during that time. But a lot of it's just our personality. This is just kind of the way we act on the cast, outside the cast. It's just kind of who we are, and League of Legends had that downtime kind of that gave you a little bit more time to bring that out. And so we could kind of, use the same style more or less in StarCraft 2 and in League of Legends. Overwatch is a completely different story. that's something that, obviously we had to adapt a lot of. And you mentioned like prefabricating, planning the cast a lot more. That's something that we've done a lot more in Overwatch, is had discussions where it's like, well, how do we want to approach this? How do we want to cast that? And the fun thing about esports casting is like, that's something that constantly kind of like changes, and you constantly reevaluate. And Overwatch is just one of those games that's just incredibly difficult to cast. So it's been a good challenge for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking to that challenge, how have you guys, or even have you decided to let that trademark Monte and DoA personality shine through in a game that is just absolute constant action?
Well, I mean, when we were looking at it early on, we were thinking, well, what would be the best way to approach this? And we took a lot of inspiration from fighting games and the casters in like Street Fighter V and Smash Brothers and all that, because we said, all right, look at this game. There's always going to be action going 100% of the time, and you can't call every single thing that happens. You can't talk about every death. You can't talk about every ultimate. It's just not feasible, right? So that was the question: is how do we sort of convey enough information, but also kind of keep the personality there? And I think fighting games are a really good model for that, in that, you do kind of not ignore, but you do kind of like pass over a lot of the moments of action in there, and then really kind of hammer home the important stuff, right? So it's a matter of taking this entire big sort of like jumble of things going on, and picking out the really important moments to talk about. And I think that's kind of the essence of Overwatch casting, and also like the greatest part of the difficulty of Overwatch casting, is that there's so many things going on. What is the most relevant to the game and to the viewer right there in that moment?
I like the comparison to fighting games, DoA, because when I was thinking about it, and you first started the comparison, I was like, yeah, in fighting games, when there's like a lull, sometimes that lull is like incredibly impactful.
Yeah,
like there's like a tension there. And I can see the parallels there too, especially in Overwatch, when you have like ultimates on both teams, and like something's about to happen, somebody just gotta make it happen.
I definitely, that comparison makes a lot of sense to me. I think the core difference is that fighting games, you have about 60 to 30 to 60 to 90 seconds of action, and then just sort of like a natural built-in lull for 10 seconds. Whereas with Overwatch, I find that like sometimes that lull can be very long as we wait for people to respawn and make their way back to a point, or sometimes that lull is extremely short because a fight just doesn't end for a little while, which I think is part of the challenge. And I'm wondering, does it require, obviously all forms of casting require that kind of level of expertise, but I'm wondering, how hard is it then to be able to, like, you've got to pick out, like you said, pick out the stuff, the important stuff from the jumble of everything that's happening. How hard was it to get to the point where you felt like, okay, we are experts now, I'm an expert now, I can pull what's important here?
I think we got pretty good at it towards the end of it. The thing with Overwatch, though, is that what that is exactly is always changing, right? The meta is always changing. There's new heroes getting added in. There's balance changes with patches and things like that. So it's a constant sort of workflow of discovery to understand the meta and the compositions, and more specifically what a specific team or player is wanting to do in a certain situation. Be aware of what they're most likely to do, but then be ready for what may happen instead, right? Because you kind of set yourself up before a team fight saying, all right, well, and this part is similar to League of Legends, where what the team has access to, what the players are likely to do, and so you kind of prepare yourself to look for those things and talk about those things. But then again, there's obviously these moments of insanity where everything gets thrown out the window. Somebody makes a big pick they weren't supposed to, and then you just have to react. And you have to say, well, now, in your brain, you have to say, well, now this is what I need to target in on, and that kind of thing. And that's something that like is always going to be a struggle to keep up on. I don't think anyone is ever going to go home at the end of the day and be like, there, I've mastered casting Overwatch. It's never going to be like that. You're always going to, miss things in a broadcast, or, say, well, when you rewatch a VOD, you're like, well, I talked about this and that was okay, but maybe I should have talked about this. And it's going to be constant like reevaluation, and that's never going to end, because the meta never, stops shifting. So
I would, I don't know how much, I imagine there must be some talk between all the different casters in the OWL, a meta talk about casting. And I imagine it would be just a fascinating conversation to be in, because I mean, you and Monte obviously come from League, and you've got, Semler, who's been a guest on this podcast a few times, who I know takes his craft very seriously and is very thoughtful about it. And I imagine he would have, his own thoughts and his own approaches to that as well. Do you guys have those sort of like caster brain trust retreats ever?
We do. We do from time to time. We kind of talk about our different philosophies on casting, and at the end of the day, one of the things I like the most about the Overwatch League broadcast is that all three of our duos have very different personalities, and that is a reflection of different thoughts and philosophies on how games should be casted, how Overwatch specifically should be casted, and there's never any like yelling, arguments about how Overwatch should be casted or anything like that. But we all there's two parts of it, right? There's sort of like discussions about how we think Overwatch should be casted, and then there's how Overwatch should be casted by you, right? There's the individual has to have their own style as well, and so what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for someone else. So we do have those discussions from time to time, but in a certain sense, all the duos are kind of autonomous in terms of how they approach casting the game, and that's great. I love that we have that sort of very different flavor with each of the three duos. And when I go on Reddit and I see someone being like, "Oh, I love this duo, but I hate this duo, but this duo is okay," and some other guy's like, "No, this duo is the best," and that one, that's great to me, because that's what I want, right? I don't want the entire broadcast to have everybody sounding the same. I want people to have their favorites and to have duos they absolutely hate. Like I want that sort of interest in it from different perspectives, because if we have those discussions, that means we're reaching more people, right? If we're only getting people saying I like everything, that means we're only reaching like one group, right? So I love that we have the different personalities in the casting duos, and how divisive that can be. That, to me, that's a very healthy sign when I see that.
That's like a really good point, Doa. I as you were talking about the exploration of what the best way to do something is for casting, and Colin, I know you want to break in here, but
no, do your thing.
But I just want to say that I think that's one of the coolest things about esports, no matter what you do in esports, is that so much of it is unwritten and you get to write it. Obviously, there are standards that we all have to adhere to, journalistic, legal, etc. But
Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Disney Channel. Yeah, we've seen Street Fighter get
and
wrecked.
Injustice just got on Disney as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Did they have
really?
The Injustice World Championships was on the Disney Channel, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, someone on the internet, I believe Ultra David did get to say ass on the Disney Channel, which is great.
It's Disney XD.
That's true.
So it's
That's
for
true.
like,
The X is for
it's
extreme.
for cool hip teens, I guess.
Yeah.
Hello, fellow kids.
But yeah, I guess I just want to finish that by saying that's one of the coolest parts about my job, at least, is being able to decide, what if we just try this, and having that freedom instead of being weighed down by 60 years of predecessors. Like, this is clearly the best way to do this. Don't mess with this formula at all. Just do this thing because that's the way it's always worked. We get that freedom to kind of mess around, which is awesome.
Yeah, we are likely that we are lucky, I should say, that we're coming into esports in this point. We're kind of the ones building the industry, and so we do have this ability to kind of do it the way we want to do it. And I think the traditions that we're establishing in esports is that we want people to do it the way they want to do it. I don't know if we ever necessarily want to, in 50 years in esports, have kind of like our 10 commandments of casting, where it's like, this is how it should be done. I think what we want to encourage is for everybody to find their own style and find something that's technically good. They have the good technical skill of speaking, of broadcasting, but also make it their own. I think that's what we want.
Yeah, I actually also really love that philosophy on casting, the non-homogeneous philosophy. I think it's something that really shines through in CSGO in particular, actually. I just love how each duo and even individual is painted with a different brush, and like you said, you can have your favorites, and you can, I mean, my God, we've all got caster power rankings, like, let's be honest, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, internal ones usually.
Definitely, yeah. Well, sometimes very external ones, depending on what websites you visit.
I don't know. I like to stand up in the office and argue about who I want to cast the grand finals, personally. But
yeah, why not? You should. I mean, people do that. People have done that with sports since like the dawn of sports. So that's good.
Exactly. Speaking of duos, I mean, you've been with your partner Monte for an age now in esports, an ice age even. But I don't.
Is an ice age longer than a regular age?
No.
I don't think that's how that works at all.
Are you
well,
sure?
It's only been about 6 years, so I suppose it's Ice Age at this point.
Yeah.
In esports terms, 6 years is 1,000 years.
Yeah, you guys don't have to check on that fact, by the way. Ice ages are definitely longer.
I think it depends on whether you're
We're
using
definitely not heading towards an Ice Age global climate-wise, so maybe that's not.
Yeah,
right
true.
I think the ice age length compared it to regular age is depending on whether you Shire Reckoning or not for your dates.
What?
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
Doa got it.
I missed
What's
it.
up?
I missed it.
I'll have to ask Gandalf about that one.
I think I just thought because glaciers move really slowly. I think I thought it was slow.
Oh.
I can buy
But
that. I'll buy
yes,
that.
they do move slowly, but they also really mess things up as they move, don't they?
Yeah, they fuck shit up.
Yes, that's what I was implying. Yes.
Oh,
But
man.
the segue.
I had a segue, and now
I
we're
ruined it,
talking
I'm
about
sorry.
glaciers.
I ruined it.
No, it's fine.
Beautiful.
I wanted. By the next words out of my mouth were gonna be, but I don't know if I've ever heard an anecdote or anything like that about how you two actually met, how this legendary duo first got together.
Well, I mean, I was in Korea at the time in 2012, and OGN I had a meeting with OGN right after I started with them, and I had planned there to go there to cast StarCraft 2, and in my first meeting with them, they said, "So we want you to cast StarCraft 2 and League of Legends. Can you do that?" And I had played like maybe 5 games of League of Legends ever, so I played a little bit with my friends here and there, but I had no idea about the pro scene or how to cast it. So naturally, I said, "Yes, absolutely, I can cast that." And then I'm like, I'm gonna need an analyst, and because I don't know anything about this game. But so I told OGN, we need to bring in an expert, we need to bring in an analyst, and Trevor Housen, who works at Blizzard now, also went by Torch, played in the GSL old StarCraft 2 Pro, was working at OGN at the time, was more familiar with the League of Legends scene, and kind of came up with a list of people, and kind of gave me the breakdown on all of them, and Monte came up, and he the words he used were like, "This guy is very professional, but he's also kind of mean." And but he's also very mature and all that, and I was like, that sounds great, actually. I'd like to work with someone who's got a bit more maturity about them and everything like that. So then then they put out the call to bring him out to Korea, and thankfully he accepted, and I went and picked him up at the airport when he arrived, and that's about it.
What was your
League of Legends?
fair enough. Now, speaking of casting League of Legends, like, what was the first cast like with him?
It was great. I mean, Monty's always been, from the very beginning, awesome to work with. He knew I was coming from a place where I had been working really hard to learn about League of Legends, but I had never casted it before. And he was happy to be in Korea. I was kind of helping him acclimate to Korea. He was helping me acclimate to League of Legends. So it worked out, really well from the very beginning. And our first game, if I remember right, was I want to say it was Najin's Sword versus CJ Blaze, I think it was, because I think it was like that day in Boston. I think it was like Flame's first game or something like that. But I remember being very nervous and being just very open with the community and being like, "Look, I like this game, guys, but I'm not an expert in it. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. So bear with me as I kind of like learn this thing, and we can all have fun together." And the community was very, welcoming and kind, in that regard too. But no, it was just I was nervous, but man, it was a ton of fun from like moment one.
Well, through those years since that moment, and through multiple different games and continents, and right, you guys have stuck together when a lot of legendary duos from other games, not all of them, have maybe split, come back together, split. We mentioned Semler earlier. That was a big heartbreak in the CS:GO community.
Yeah.
We split from Anders. Rip that duo for sure. And what is it about you two that even in a different game, a different time, a different place, you guys are still A, able to stand each other, and B, work so well together?
I mean, I think we just really enjoy it. We just really enjoy working with each other, and we both have very different personalities. So we but there's also like I think a big respect as far as like our perspectives on things go. I think we're both very good at listening to each other and taking feedback from each other, and then acting on that feedback too. So when we've run into something where somebody needs to make a change, they're receptive to that and making that change. And we're also just really good friends outside of the game too. We just happen to hit it off and have that chemistry there as well. So yeah, from a business sense, it's been great. It's been a great friendship, and obviously doing the broadcast has just been really fun, and we've been able to kind of improve together. So yeah, it's just we just got super lucky, I guess. It just worked out really well.
So I don't know how much the one of our reporters who contacted you to get this interview told you, but we are actually doing a story of documentary on you and Monte. That's going to be the
really?
subject. Oh yes.
It will happen.
Oh boy,
And
I
we're-
didn't know that.
And I'm totally okay to say that on air.
Are
Wow.
you though?
Yes, I am. That's a period, not a question mark.
You cleared it?
No. No.
Oh,
But no.
Someone's in charge here. He can
This,
do it.
what this is called, Josh, is a viral promo. We're dropping it as if
Yeah.
it's nothing,
Well,
so
we-
people
what-
get hyped.
It's not really hard to like look at our podcast and be like, oh, they're interviewing this guy and they're asking these questions,
Yeah.
and wow, I guess this is happening. But
That is true. That is true. So we are doing that, and we're excited to be telling that story. Like I said,
Cool.
one of the most legendary casting duos you can name in any esport. So
Wow.
with that being said, I have a fucking super cheesy question for you that I have to
All right.
ask.
Bring it on.
There's this little clip you may have heard of out there in the internet world. It's the Faker Ryu outplay. theScore eSports has only used it 10,000 times in
I've heard of that one.
every League of Legends video we do because it's sick. It's
even non League of Legends
Yeah.
videos,
it's beating out the XPEC backdoor right now for most played
Oh,
clip
yeah.
at
Oh,
theScore eSports.
Wow.
And I know, right? And I just want to know, if at all possible, if you could go back to that time and place and tell me what was going through your head pre, post, and during one of the best 1v1s we've ever seen.
Well, I mean, that was just like one of the greatest best of fives in the history of esports. I mean, the history of gaming. It was so amazing. I mean, just everything about that day was incredible. Like it started out, we were at the outdoor venue and we got absolutely rained on, like torrential rain on us the first game. And the player booths were covered, of course, but the casting booths were not. So we got absolutely drenched during the first game. They came up and like we're putting plastic bags over the monitors so the monitors wouldn't get as wet. But then because the monitors were hot, it was fogging up the bag. So I had to keep like wiping off the monitors so I could see the game screen. So I could barely like see what was going on and all that. We were getting soaked. It ended after game one, but then we were sitting there absolutely freezing because then you're just sitting outside in completely soaked suits. But the games were so good, and for SK Telecom to make that comeback that they did, and then in game 5, it's become so intense because SKT was kind of the underdog going into that one, and so for them to come back like that, and then the culmination of this huge game, and SKT had this big lead in game 5, and Faker had a lot more items than Ryu did at the time, so he was objectively much stronger on that Zed, but then still, to start that duel out at such low health and then just win that duel anyway, despite the situation, was just, my mind was just blown. I kind of just lost it, and it was just kind of a culmination of all the excitement, both inside the game and outside the game, that encapsulated that entire sort of day. It was a pretty unforgettable experience, that's for sure.
I'll tell you how pervasive that call is. Just I'm in the office, like I do actually like League of Legends a lot. I've watched more of it this year than I ever have. I really enjoy it as a competitive game, but I'm more of a CS:GO guy. Okay, so a lot of the casting calls from CS:GO stick in my head. But I will tell you that last season, we're from Canada. We all love hockey. I'm watching the Toronto Maple Leafs for my team, and I swear to God, there was a moment where one of our star players, I believe it was Matthews, dekes out a guy, two D-men, and puts it like top cheese or whatever, right? Which just means he
Wow.
had a snipe shot. And
I ran a camera for a NCAA hockey broadcast for 3 years, so I'm pretty familiar with that.
Really? This was obviously pre-Korea?
Oh yeah. This was back in college. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Well, then you know all this stuff already. So I
Yeah. There you
swear
go.
to you, I said out loud without thinking about it. Look at the guys. Look at the moves.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Was anybody in the room with you?
Yeah, one other person was in the room. They didn't know what I was talking about. Had no
Sorry,
idea.
I interrupted you.
Their
Doa.
loss. Their loss.
No, that was it. That was the anecdote. I
interrupted.
mean,
I interrupted Doa. Actually, I was very sorry.
Well, now this reframes the whole thing for me, knowing that DoA was like soaking wet outside when he made that call. Actually, that completely changes the context for me. So
I may have been like hypothermic and delirious at that point.
oh that makes wow. There we go. There's
No,
all the
not
context.
really, not really. It was like I would say, it was probably around like 70 degrees out there. It wasn't that cold, but like it gets when you're in like soaking wet clothes, it gets really cold.
and you're not doing jumping jacks. You're sitting, right? So or
Yeah,
standing.
exactly.
or
We're
as
just
the case may be.
sitting there like shivering at the time, and all of our notes were like soaked through and all that. It was fun.
I wanted to ask you. Sorry,
No, please,
Dan.
Please go ahead.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
really,
really?
really.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Dan.
Wow.
Colin's
Okay.
my boss, so I just hate
Nice.
that.
That's okay. I
Yeah,
wanted
hold the L.
I wanted to switch gears super quickly and just ask you a few questions about the letter that you, Monte, and Papa Smithy penned to Riot back in the day regarding compensation and issues you
yeah.
guys were having. What was if there was I know the reason for the letter, but if there was sort of a straw that broke the camel's back or like an onus that made you guys go, holy shit, like something's got to be done here, what would that have been?
Well, I mean, I think it was just we were concerned that they were setting a precedent that would hurt esports commentators in the industry in general, and that at the end of the day, like kind of like we talked about at the beginning with Overwatch League, where our goal is to make sure that in esports people can make a livable wage, right? And be able to make a living off of esports because we want this industry to grow. And if we don't have people making enough to do it full time, it's not going to grow. So the main point of that was, was the concern that by, if we accepted these kinds of rates and they had kind of gone down from what they had even done the previous years, and they were saying that like casters were overpaid and all that, and we just felt that was a dangerous precedent that we didn't want set for the industry in general, and it was so far outside of the existing precedent too that it just didn't make sense for us. And I mean, yeah, we were giving up, a chunk of money ourselves by writing this letter and by, kind of taking this stand. But, at the end of the day, if you really want esports to grow, you got to have those moments where you have to stand up for yourself and for the industry and kind of accept, whatever happens from that. So, that was just one of those moments for us.
Weren't you afraid at all? You're living this dream in some cases. You're casting esports and you are living off of it. Was there ever the thought like, oh my God, is this going to be the end for us? Like, are we going to suffer because of this?
No, because I mean, first of all, this wouldn't affect our relationship with OGN at all, so we weren't worried about that at all. And at the end of the day, like, and this is what I've told other commentators that have, been struggling and come to me for advice is that it's better to do something else and pay the bills than to be sort of destitute and not making it in esports really at the end of the day, because the thing is like yeah, esports is fun and all that, but if it's not paying the bills, it's probably not going to be worth it beyond like age 25, right? Because you can play sort of the starving artist for a while, but at the end of the day, you have to start looking towards adult things like family if you've got one, retirement, stuff like that, kind of making it financially yourself. So it's not worth accepting those kinds of rates and kind of like burying yourself and other casters that will be affected by your decision too, when you compare it to just like having esports be a hobby and going and getting another job. And that's kind of the perspective I always approached esports with, where it's like, if this isn't going to work for a career, I'm not going to force it. I'm going to put myself out there, but I'm not, at the end of the day, I need to pay the bills. And I've been at the point where, I was laid off 6 times in 2 years after college. Like I have been poor, like destitute poor. And the stress that comes along with that is not worth it compared to, saying, hey, I get to do, video games, right? Because you can't really enjoy that if you, have bill collectors calling all the time.
So
This guy is laying down some fucking knowledge. This is the truth.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it comes back to what you said at the with around one of the first questions we asked you, where at the end of the day, we all want this industry to be an industry where we can have a career and have a job and have a future, and that other people can have that too. And I guess what I want to ask, just sort of before we wrap up, is, you already talked a little bit about how you kind of were falling out of love with the league, and you were looking at these other games, looking at Overwatch, and I want to ask then, was that decision then, when push came to shove, like, hey, Overwatch is calling, Blizzard is calling, was the decision to leave League of Legends like a particularly difficult one? Or was it just like, hey, I don't love this game as much anymore, and, a career is a career, the bills have to be paid?
I think with League of Legends, more than anything, it wasn't like a dislike of Riot or anything like that caused us to make that change from League of Legends to Overwatch. It was really kind of looking at, our careers as a casting duo and saying, what more can we do really in this game? We felt that we had kind of capped out in League of Legends. We had capped out what we could do in Korea as an esports duo. And so when this opportunity came up to help Blizzard kind of build this league and to be casters and also consultants for it early on, that sounded like something that was, sounded like a really cool, exciting challenge to be a part of. And we both love Blizzard games. We both got our start in Blizzard games. So it kind of felt like returning home to a certain extent. And, that made it a pretty easy choice. We both love League of Legends. We both really enjoyed our time casting it, but, the time was right to move on,
Makes sense.
Fair enough. I do have one more wrap-up question for you, but before that, I want to give a super quick shout-out to the Gundams I finally noticed in the background there.
Wow, that took you a while.
Is that
I do like the Zaku.
I said it like right away.
Is that Char's Gelgoog or Sazabi?
That is Sazabi, the Sazabi Veracop there. And then if I tilt the webcam up a little bit more, I have a perfect grade unicorn.
Oh, I love the unicorn design so much.
It's all right.
I love it.
It's all right.
I love weird Gundam.
So
I also love the
and
Turna
then
Gundam design. So
there's a couple Transformers there too. There's Soundwave, and there's actually a 1980s Devastator behind him. And then you got Nemesis Prime. And this Tall Geese right there. Back to Gundam.
Hell yeah!
We in that Gundam Wing universe now.
I will not abide by Gundam Wing. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
I built a lot of. Oh no, it's fine. I built a lot of Gundam models, and I had to part with a lot of those when I left Korea. But these are the ones that these two shelves are the ones that I really cherish. So
excellent selection on Tall Geese. Hell yeah!
Thank you.
You are a Tall Geese stan, man.
I am. Zex Marquise, dude. Let's do it.
It's the best. It's the best Gundam in that show. And I'm not a big Gundam Wing fan as of the show overall, but man, I love that mech.
Screw Epion. Screw
Yeah,
Epion.
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
All right, we're hijacking this another hour. Another hour. All Gundam chat.
I'm barely holding back like my hot takes.
This room is like not ours in 3 minutes.
I know. All I'm gonna say is Universal Sentry or nothing, buddy.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Hard disagree.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. See, DoA's on my side.
All right.
See,
Let's go. This is a tag team.
Let's go.
All right.
We work for Anaheim Electronics. What up? They did the gun. Anyways.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Noah, I had a real question for you, and I probably ruined the mood completely on it, but I did want to ask, in regards to you guys as a duo, in the future, when you guys retire many decades from now, after many accolades, many successful seasons of the Overwatch League, what would you want people to say when they talk about Monte and DoA, the casting duo?
I mean, at the end of the day, I just hope they say, those guys were really entertaining. That's really what I want more than anything is for people to just remember that they had fun watching our casts and that we added to it, and we made them feel like they were, a part of it. So it's pretty simple, really. I mean, I don't need to have a statue or anything like that. I just want people to remember good times when they were watching us.
That's a fair answer. You should ask for a statue, but that's
or at least
answer.
A plastic model kit.
Yeah, exactly.
Build your own.
If I do a good enough job, that'll come along with it, so I don't have to worry about that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right, DoA. Well, unfortunately, we do have to let you go now. I wish we had a little bit more time. We usually do. It feels a bit of a shame to cut it off here.
Fun.
It has. It's actually been a true pleasure speaking to you. We really, really do appreciate you making time for us here on the Score Esports podcast.
Hey, no problem.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we can do it again soon. And until then, take care. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Well, that went in a couple directions that I really enjoyed. The actual interview was very good and very
Absolutely.
fun. What's up, Josh?
He's just nodding.
Yeah. No,
It was a great show. Principality of Xeon forever. I think you got to take us
wow.
think you gotta take us out of the room.
Wow. The Duchy of Xeon. We got a supporter here. With that, for Char Aznable, for Josh Burry, for Amaro Ray,
Zex Marquise.
for Zex Marquise, for Daniel Rose, and I'm Colin McNeil saying until next time on the Square Sports Podcast, GG.